What's up, my homies? It's Edible Buckets, and today we'll be jumping into each of the 4 round 2 matchups, focusing on the matchup histories and who I feel has an advantage. Let's dive straight in. Let's begin with the series that just got set last night. The 2-seed New York Knicks versus the 6-seed Indiana Pacers. Both teams are coming off series victories versus depleted teams. More so Indiana, as they drew a very unhealthy Bucks team, who they dismantled in 6 games. And the Knicks edged out the Sixers in 6 as well, but boy, could that have easily went to 7. So the classic 90s rivalry of the Knicks and the Pacers are back in a playoff matchup for the first time since 2013. Where the Paul George-led Pacers 1-6. Before that, their last meeting was way back in 2000, where the Pacers also 1-6, funny enough. Could that be a foreshadowing? Anyway, they've matched up a whopping 5 times in the 90s. The Knicks won 3 of those 5 meetings. This year, they played 3 times and the Pacers went 2-1 against the Knicks. Their first matchup was on December 30th, where the Pacers won at home by 14. Miles Turner had a huge day with 28 and Haliburton dished out 23 assists. Unreal. He averaged 10.9 assists per game in the regular season, which was easily number 1 in the league. A whole 1.1 above number 2 Luka. Brunson and Randle each had 28, while DiVincenzo had 38. He was 7 for 11 from deep. They next met on February 1st in the Garden. This was the first time the Knicks saw Siakam suit up for Indiana. And no Randle for the Knicks, so this could be a good sample size. Siakam had 18, 7, and 5, but the Knicks prevailed by 4. Brunson dropped 40, with 50% shooting. Their final meeting was also in the Garden, and just 10 days later. The Pacers won by 14 and had double-digit scoring by 6 different players. Jalen Brunson damn near dropped another 40-piece with 39 points. Alec Burks had 22 off the bench for the Knicks, who is currently out of the rotation for New York. In 2023, the Knicks won 3 of the 4 meetings, so in their past 7 matchups, the Knicks won 4 of them. But in 23, the Knicks were much different with Randle and Quickly, and no OG Anunoby. And Indiana, of course, did not have Siakam yet. So this is a tough series to predict. I think home court is huge, and especially the Garden, as it'll be rockin'. But I do feel that this new look, high-energy Pacers can definitely hang with New York. I'm thinking that this series goes to 7, and I'll take the Knicks. Although the 2 wins the Pacers had this season against New York were both blowouts. The Knicks' only win was by 4, and Brunson had to drop 40. So shit, it can go either way. I'll stick with my pick, as the Knicks have a little more playoff experience as of late. Next, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Boston Celtics. Screw this series, I'm not gonna watch any of it. JK, I'm just a broken-hearted Heat fan. Anyway, the Celtics are coming off their 4th best all-time regular season. 64 regular season wins hasn't been done since 2008 when they won 66, and the NBA title over Kobe. In the following season, they won 62 games, but lost in the second round to Orlando in 7. I hope that happens this year. FYI, I'm actually writing this portion right before Game 6 of the Cavs in Orlando, but I'm voicing this portion right after Game 6, so Game 7 is a thing. Anyway, the Cavs went 1-2 versus Boston this year, and their one victory was by 1 point in their last meeting. This was surprisingly without Donovan Mitchell, and Boston was fully healthy. Okay, Cleveland, I see you. This was the D-Wade game, and not the D-Wade that occasionally shows up in Boston's nightmares. No, this was Dean Wade, who had 23 off the bench and shot 8 of 11. Unfortunately, he has not played in the playoffs, and he suffered a right knee sprain. He probably won't be back anytime this season. In December, the Cavs played the Celtics in 2 games in a row in the TD Garden. The Celtics won fairly easily in both. In the first game, the Cavs jumped out to a 10-point lead to end the first quarter, but that lead didn't last very long. I think the Cavs have enough offense to keep the series somewhat competitive. Somewhat. They lack that defensive talent to stay with Boston. I'm going Celtics in 5. Okay, let's now shift our focus to the Western Conference. The Nuggets and the Timberwolves met up 4 times in this regular season, going 2-2 against each other, which is the same as last year. So in the last 8 games, they are 4-4. In their first matchup this season, the Timberwolves won by 21 at home in early November. Jokic and Murray combined to shoot 2 of 10 from deep. Murray was pretty horrendous at 5 of 16 overall shooting. Not that I'm worried he won't show up in this series. I believe he's at his peak at the moment. Gobert shot 0 for 7 this game. Edwards had 24 and Cat with 21. But it was the Wolves' depth that gave them the edge. Conley had 17 with 3 for 4 from deep. Naz Reid had 15 and Kyle Anderson with 9 on 4 for 6 overall shooting. Their second matchup was also in Minnesota, with the Nuggets edging out the Wolves by 3. Anthony Edwards with 38 and 8 and Jaden McDaniels had 26 on 9 of 13 shooting. No Karl-Anthony Towns for Minnesota. The Joker dropped 35 and 16 with an efficient 14 of 22. And Michael Porter had 26. He's such an X factor for them. If he's on, the Nuggets are almost impossible to beat when healthy. Now this next matchup was much more recent as opposed to their first matchup in November. This was in March, and so was their third meeting in Denver. Just 10 days later, the Timberwolves got their revenge by 13. But Jamal Murray did not play. A massive caveat to say the least. That being said, Cat for Minnesota once again did not play. Edwards at 25 and Gobert with 21 and 12. He only missed 1 shot out of 8. Joker had another huge performance with 32 and 10, but it wasn't enough. In their most recent meeting on April 10th in Denver, Joker dropped 41, 11, and 7 and 3 steals. Porter with 18 and Jamal with 20. Cat unfortunately did not play and they lost by 9. In 2023, they also went 2-2 against each other in the regular season. I'll make this season recap quick. In Game 1, Minnesota won by 13 without Karl-Anthony Towns. In Game 2, Denver won by 4, but Minnesota had neither of their 2 big boys. Fun fact, they still had D'Angelo Russell at this time. In Game 3, the Timberwolves dominated by 30 without Cat, but the Nuggets didn't have Joker nor Murray, so we can kinda cross out this game. And in their final meeting of 2023, Cat sadly was not available again, but they lost by 34. Porter led the way for Denver with 30. They did have Joker, but not Murray. So in summary, as you can see, these two teams have played each other very well over the last 2 seasons. Luckily, we are entering the series healthy for both squads, knock on wood. Although head coach Chris Flinch for Minnesota has to undergo surgery Wednesday after getting run into in the final minutes of Game 4 versus Phoenix. Man, it's so hard to pick against the Denver Nuggets, but I'm actually gonna do it. Call me crazy, but let's go Minnesota, stand up.
Wolves in 6!
And finally, it's time for the fourth and final matchup, the 5 seed Dallas Mavericks versus the 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder. Before we dive in, I want to say how much injuries have sucked in the first round, man. Jimmy Butler, Damian Lillard, Giannis, Kawhi, etc. All of these stars had big injuries at basically the worst moments for their teams. A lot of these key playoff runs are about timing. A little luck is necessary in winning a title. A random example was when Kyrie got hurt versus the Bucks when the Nets were up 2-1 in the series. They were coming off of 2 very dominant home wins and in a solid position to even take Game 4. Now in that Game 4, the Bucks were winning by 6 in the second quarter, but how close the series became with that thrilling overtime Game 7, you can't say Kyrie wouldn't have helped. Same could be said for James Harden, who had a hamstring injury. But not to also say that the Bucks championship wasn't legitimate, because it was. Giannis's NBA Finals was unreal. A little luck and injuries is just naturally a part of the game sometimes. Well, more times than not, unfortunately. Anyway, back on topic. After eliminating the LA Clippers without Kawhi in 6 games, Kyrie Irving is now 13-0 when attempting to close out an opponent in the playoffs. Absurd. I am so curious to see what would happen if he gets that opportunity again in this postseason.
Oh goodness, I was, I was laughing with the guys after I hit that shot. I don't even think I watched it go in, fully once it left my hands. I saw I got fouled. I fell to the floor. Then I was on the floor looking, kind of squinting and seeing if it went in.
Irving dancing, prancing, pulls up, 3-pointer, bang!
He's 12-0 in his career in closeout games, and he's putting them to bed almost by himself.
And on the other side, the Thunder are coming off a 4-0 sweep of New Orleans, who did not have Zion. The Thunder finished with 57 wins. The last time they did this was back in 2014 when they had 59 wins. This team lost in the conference finals to the eventual champion, San Antonio Spurs. SGA was 3rd in the NBA this regular season in points per game with 30.1, only behind Giannis and Luka. So this year the Thunder went 3-1 versus Dallas. In the first game the Thunder won by 6, but the Mavs didn't have Kyrie. Luka had 36, 18, and 15 boards. This was before the big trade deadline for Dallas. In their second matchup, they did have PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. who have been huge for them. With a duo like Kyrie and Luka, who are supremely elite offensively, naturally you need good defenders surrounding them. This trade unlocked that door for them. I really do feel that they can give OKC a good run for their money. So in this second matchup, the Mavs dominated the Thunder by 35. The Mavericks scored 146 points. They had 47 in the first quarter alone. This day and age of basketball is insane. A month later, they played in OKC for the first time this year. The Thunder won by 7, but the Mavs did not have Luka. Kyrie had 36 and 12 assists, Daniel Gafford with 19 and 15 boards. I can't wait to see Gafford versus Chet Holmgren in this series. SGA had 31, 9 and 5, and Jalen Williams with 27. In their final meeting, it was also in OKC, where they absolutely crushed them by 49. That being said, the Mavericks were resting their starters, so we can cross out this game. Okay, so post-trade deadline, excluding the Mavs bench game, these teams went 1-1 against each other. One game was without Luka, where OKC only won by 7, and in the other, both sides were pretty healthy. And Dallas won by 35. Is Luka gonna consistently shoot 9 of 14? It's tough to say. To give another sample size, he shot 11 of 22 the other time he suited up versus OKC this year. But this was the game without Kyrie, and OKC only won by 6. Nonetheless, I think people don't realize how good of a series that this will be. It absolutely has the potential to be just as good as Nuggets Wolves. But I'm gonna go Mavs in 7. Yes, I have belief. I won't be surprised either way the series goes unless there's a sweep on either side. Quickly to end the segment, I feel that this series revolves around the productivity of Jalen Williams. He can win or lose the series as the co-star in OKC. Their early season loss to the Mavs, he only scored 9 points, and in their 2 victories, he scored 20 plus, not counting the victory versus the Mavs bench to end the season. Well, thanks for watching. I started this YouTube journey way back in 2017, strictly making Legend of Zelda content, which I still love, but after making this channel recently, I felt such a weight come off my shoulders. I've loved sports from a young age, so crafting NBA videos is such a euphoric experience for me. I basically digest sports 24/7 anyway. I might try some football content later this year. And well, as always, I hope you all stay hyped. Peace!